Hey there Wargamers, and welcome back to another Wargames Delivered video. In this video, we're going to show you how to build and customize your minis. Also, if you'd like to follow along with the video, please follow the links below to our page at Wargames Delivered. We have a Refer a Friend program active right now, where if you refer a friend with their email, you will get a $10 discount, and so will they. So keep that in mind, and with that said, let's get started.
In this shot, this is our finished result, and most of the tools that we used here in this video. A couple that we didn't as well will be included here. So we have the Fallschirmjäger support box, and we're going to go ahead and just build a mini from this. I figured we've done a bunch of painting videos, a bunch of different kind of painting techniques, so go back to another basic video and just show you guys, especially beginners, how I go about building my minis here. In this box you will have about 5 of each of the sprues here. And this set also comes with a nice little one-page guide that has all of the information about how to put your minis together, what piece goes with what, and your options for building them. There's also some nice painting options with some historical info on the back there as well, which is great for referencing. And you do get 5 of each of these sprues. And that will bring you to about 30 characters or infantry. So we will go ahead and start busting out the plastic cutters here, the Army Painter plastic cutters. All of the tools that you see, except for the glue, are included in the Wargames Delivered tool selection. So keep that in mind if you are in need of new tools. All of these are offered in that set as well. And what I like to do when I'm cutting out my pieces here is just make sure that the flat end is facing the miniature, as you can see, and just make sure you make very quick cuts. Try to leave a little bit of the sprue on the miniature so you can cut that off later with a knife. It's always better to leave a little bit of the sprue on the mini rather than cutting into the mini. So keep that in mind when you're doing this, and you should be all set with making sure you have enough detail on your minis. Realistically, there are a few ways to do this. You can go about this how I'm doing it, which is cutting out all your pieces first and then gluing them together. Or you can, cut them out one by one and then clean them up and glue them together. It's really up to you and how you like to work. I prefer to kind of get all of the pieces out, look at them, clean them all off, and then glue everything together. But that's just how I like to work. If you like to build it as you go, you can absolutely do it the other way. And when you're cutting out very small parts like the bandoliers right here, just make sure you use the very tip of your plastic cutters so you don't ruin too much detail. And in the next step here, we're going to switch over to our hobby knife. Be very careful with this thing, first of all. That's the #1 step. And I like to, it's probably not the safest way to do this, but I like to use my thumb on my other hand, kind of as a stopping point. And I don't really use too much force. I really just kind of barely push it into the area that I need cut off. And I've only cut myself once or twice, so this method seems to work out for me if I'm being really careful, as long as I'm not pushing too hard. So the biggest thing is to just be very careful, whittle it down, work in bits, and just don't try to cut too deep into the model. In this video, I'll just be using my hands to kind of hold the plastic pieces in place while I'm cutting them, but you can absolutely use a pair of tweezers if you need to for some of the smaller pieces. I know when I switch over to Malifaux models, I definitely pull out my tweezers quite a bit to get some of those smaller and more intricate details glued on properly, so and cleaned up as well. So keep that in mind. You don't always have to hold the plastic with your fingers. I know it can be very difficult on some of those smaller pieces, so any way that you can kind of pin those smaller pieces and really just give yourself a lot of leverage, that's the best way to go about those. While you're also doing this step, look out for mold lines as well. Those are just little raised plastic areas on your models where the plastic meets. You'll just have to take the edge of your hobby knife and cut that out. And we will switch over to our next step here, which will be super gluing everything together. I have the Army Painter super glue, but plastic glue works a bit better. I was out at the moment, so this will work as well. Pretty much anything but their basing glue will work for this step. Another good practice is fitting the piece into place before you glue it on the model. Sometimes, even when you plan out for it, you have to adjust some things, so keep that in mind. For example, this bandolier that I had on this model was a little bit too high when I attached his arms and his gun, so I did end up pushing him down just a little bit. Another good thing to be aware of is the angle of the head. You can mess with the glue for about, a couple of seconds after it is on there, so you really have time to angle the head how you'd like. I usually like to do this step last after I put everything together, because it kind of really sets the look of the model. So keep that in mind when you're working with gluing on heads. It's very important to really give it the angle that you want and then let it sit there. Again, with your glue steps, you'll probably want to give this about a minute to dry, and then you can move on to our final step here, which is going to be cutting out the base of the miniature. We are going to leave the miniature and the base separate at the moment. I'll show you guys how to kind of paint them separately, or at least what I like to do. I know on the channel I've painted a lot of miniatures on their bases already, so we will go ahead and show you guys just a different option for that if you'd like to kind of get a little bit more of a better angle on your miniatures and a little bit more detail on your bases. And with the base here, just simply follow the previous steps that we used on the miniature. There won't be any glue involved at the moment until we put the miniature on the base, but I would use the same glue that we just used, the super glue or the plastic glue, depending on what you're gluing the model to on your base. So keep that in mind as well. So from there, we will go ahead and show you guys how to keep those separate. You can also glue it on, like I said before. It's really up to you at this point, depending on what you're going for with your models. So I just use a simple piece of cork and a simple wire to hold my miniature in place.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy our content. And also be sure to visit us at Wargames Delivered and check out the Refer a Friend button at the bottom of the page to get a $10 discount when you refer a friend, and they will also get a $10 discount. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.